Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride. Okay. Welcome to the Christmas Special, YouTube. Professor, as always, are you ready?
I'm ready.
In 3.
Welcome to Super Talk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode number 51, and Merry Christmas. I'm your host, Brian, Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, is my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella. Titanium.
Feliz Navidad, Professor.
Yes.
Feliz Navidad. Merry Christmas. Big Christmas episode. You got a little something special at the end of the episode. Oh, is that a new Christmas present?
Oh, yeah, I got this.
Look at that.
Look at my,
what a sweater. Hockey sweater of the... Daredevil. Hell's Kitchen's Devils.
Hell's
That's so
Kitchen's
badass.
Devils. Yeah,
that is
awesome.
So badass. I love it.
Yeah. So,
Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Same to you, and I've got a gift for you. So
without
further ado, let's exchange some gifts here. So
look at this wrap job. Look at this wrapping job.
Obviously, Nancy wrapped that.
Oh, is there any question? There's no question.
Your wife is a professional
package
wrapper.
She's quite good.
Like I heard, Home and Gardens was in here taking pictures of under the Christmas tree.
It was they're works of art. It's a shame to rip them open, but Christmas is Christmas. Wow!
All right, let's see what you got.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome.
So there's a bunch of things in there. I think it says on the side what's in there.
It is a Infinity Gauntlet coffee mug, and there's a bunch of other stuff in here. LED light to light it up. The mug. Collecting cards, and a beanie cap. That's cool. Wow. That's awesome.
There you go. Merry Christmas.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm going to have to snap some coffee back with my Infinity Gauntlet mug. Thank you, Professor.
I
Very nice.
Really bad about taking this bow off. It's so nice.
Just rip it open.
I know. I'm sure the kids don't care. They're just like, get me in there.
Episode 50, the Christmas episode.
51.
That's right, 51.
51. Yeah, got one more.
Awesome.
One more to the anniversary. All right, let's see what we got here. Ooh. All right, we've got a Spider-Man and Venom t-shirt.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Dude. Yeah, that's very cool.
The symbiote taking over Spider-Man.
Can't wait for that to happen in the MCU. And we got, the Marvel Universe and Spider-Man Entertainment magazines. Awesome. Yeah, can't wait to look through these.
You sit them in the toilet, and at your leisure time,
thank you, Titanium.
Little in your office reading.
Thank you very much, Titanium.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Generous.
Thank you. I love my gift. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Well, before we get started, let's thank the listeners that bring the show to you, and those are our patrons. Patreon.com/SuperTalk is how you join. As we mentioned, we've got our big anniversary episode coming up next week, so if you want to be part of a giveaway for all of our patrons, now's the time to join. Patreon.com/SuperTalk. $1 episode, that's all it takes. You're donating to the show. It helps us give back to the listening audience. So thank you so much, and if you want to join, help us out. That'd be great.
Absolutely. That'd be really cool. Thank you, guys.
All right, well, let's jump into the content this week. Christmas aside, we did have the finale of the Hawkeye Disney Plus series this past week. We got episode 6, the finale episode. What'd you think? I mean, wrapped up all the things that we could have hoped to wrap up, but
yeah, it really did. Like a lot of Disney shows that kind of answer questions that don't. This pretty much answered all the questions that I had, major questions that I had. I really liked it. I feel a little bit bad for it. It was overshadowed and overpowered by the release of No Way Home, the Spider-Man. And unfortunately, this finale came in the midst of that glory. But I thought it was very good. The only thing, and if I only have to say one bad thing about the show, just one, the rest of it I really enjoyed. I love Kate Bishop and Yelena and their relationship, and that chemistry is off the charts. The after credit scene sucked. I mean, it was absolutely horrible.
So, what Titanium's referring to is we did get a post-credit scene at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And we kind of half expected it to be something related to the show, and it wasn't. It was literally the full Broadway performance of Save the City from the Rogers musical that they had made up for the television show. And it was the full performance of that song. We kind of saw snippets of it in the first episode of Hawkeye, but they basically gave us the entire performance of that song by the Broadway production. And what they said, I guess what the showrunner said, is that this was, kind of a way for the show to give back to the viewing audience. This is a gift. This is our Christmas gift to the viewing audience.
Gift? Did I get a receipt with that gift? I want to return it. I'm returning that. It was awful, dude. I'm not I love Broadway shows. I get it. I like some Broadway shows, but I think this was an homage to. It was a nod to New York and the Broadway area and the filming in New York. I guess I don't know, but it was. If you're into that, I guess it's kind of cool. But I thought when I was watching it that there'd be a shot in the audience and Yelena Belova sitting there watching the show with her eyes like, "What is this?"
Right,
or something
that would have tied it into the television show. And it was none of that.
It was none of that.
Right.
It was awful.
And it's funny. There's a lot. I think a lot of viewers of the Hawkeye show had been talking about, hey, are they really going to make this Rogers musical? That'd be really cool. They probably should do something like that on Broadway. Well, after we saw this, we're probably like, yeah, no, don't do that. and now you know why Hawkeye was cringing so much when he was in the audience watching it in episode 1.
I feel for him that he had to take his kids to that.
And they all left early. It's like, oh, man.
Yeah, it wasn't good. But the rest of the show was spectacular. We'll get into some of it, some details about it. But I thought it was really good. Again, the highlight for me is the relationship between Kate and Yelena. I think it's special. The chemistry there is off the charts, and this episode kind of proved it again. Kind of cool.
Yeah, and we'll just kind of recap some of the details. At the end of episode 5, we've got the little quick screenshot on Kate's phone that Yelena had taken of the Kingpin and the mother being together. We basically got that full scene of the two of them. In episode 6, the episode starts off with the Kingpin walking into his office, and it is Vincent D'Onofrio.
Awesome.
Kingpin walks into his office, and Eleanor's there to talk to him. And one of the surprising things that we always felt that she was shady, she was up to things that were not, she wasn't leading on who she really was. Right. But what we found out in that scene was that her deceased husband, Kate's father, had racked up an enormous amount of debt to the Kingpin, and that she took on that debt when he passed away and was forced to pay it back somehow. And her, assisting the criminal empire, the Kingpin's criminal empire, and through her security company, she had been paying back that debt, and she confirmed she'd paid it back, tenfold. She's like, by this time, I've paid back the debt tenfold.
And he reminds her that, you've also done very well for
You've also benefited from this
Now,
relationship.
the conspiracy theory guy in me is thinking, maybe there's more to her. Maybe the dad's really not dead. But I've learned my lesson with these shows not to read deeper than what's on the surface. They give you what it is and just take it for what it is. So it kind of answers a lot of questions. I felt good about it.
It did. I mean, we basically found out, and she was telling the Kingpin, "Look, I'm done. My daughter, my daughter's back, and she's wrapped up in this, and she's in trouble. I want out because I don't want to put her in any more danger. And he's like, Eleanor, remember this. Relationship's been mutually beneficial, and you can't just walk away. And
you
she's
don't
like,
just walk away from something like that.
And she's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And we then see Kingpin right after that basically tell his cronies, hey, something needs to be done about this, and we need to take care of her.
And Maya comes in at that point, at some point too, and basically says the same thing. I've lost my way here. I'm kind of, looking for him. My father made so much to me, and they kind of have this little talk with Kazi standing there, and it's not good. Maya basically lets them know that she's on to them. She knows what's been going on, Basically, they put the hit out on her father.
She didn't say that to him.
She didn't say that to him, but I think she understands now that they
what she said to the Kingpin was, my vendetta is over. I'm done. I'm not gonna go after revenge anymore. I'm just gonna kind of keep my head down. And Kingpin was like, okay. And then Kingpin turns to Kazi, says, she's she knows too much or something like that, and kind of alluding to Kazi that she has to be taken care of now too, right? Yeah.
Along with Eleanor Bishop.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, then we get a scene with Hawkeye and Kate, and Kate's talking about having viewed the entire video. We saw this, that entire conversation was videotaped by Yelena, and they watched the whole thing, and they're like, oh my God, my mom's in serious trouble, and Hawkeye's like, yeah, this guy's no good, he's bad news, and they're like, we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to do something. I'm gonna have to take care of this, and she's like, "You get out of here. You go home.
This is my problem.
Yeah, this is my problem. Go home and be with your family on Christmas." And he's like, "No, Kate, you're my partner. I'm here to help. I'm not leaving until this is taken care of."
And for those of you that aren't super geeks like the professor and I, that was a huge scene. The fact that he said that was huge. He's basically partnering up with Kate Bishop. For the first time, he's admitted that she's special. Basically, this is what I got out of it, that she's special and she could be part of his team and partnered.
Yeah, he believes in her.
Yeah.
And he warns her, says, look, you're going to lose way more than you gain by doing this. But
cool little hero speech there.
Yeah, and she's like, but that's what makes heroes, is that you put all that stuff at risk. And we got a really cool montage of them making these trick arrows, right?
Yeah.
So Hawkeye had these cases of these arrowheads that Stark technology arrowheads and Pym technology arrowheads and all that, and basically they're screwing them onto the arrows, and she doesn't know what they all do, and he's describing them to her, and she's making labels. She's
sonic arrow.
Yeah. She's making labels for each one of the arrows so she knows what each one of them does. And he's like, oh, no, that one's way too dangerous. And all because, she's like, another one of those, and all these other things. But they're preparing for this battle that they know is coming.
Yeah.
And they think that this is all going to happen at the Christmas party, which they're going to go to.
Yeah, I think that was a cool little partner trick arrows, and everybody loves trick arrows. So I think the audience was waiting for a big arrow battle, with trick arrows, obviously. So leading into that.
And we kind of got in then the Christmas party, and we find out that Kate had arranged for all of the LARPers, all of their friends, to basically be the staff at the at the Christmas party, which was their kind of second level of protection, and they all were speaking to each other and headsets and microphones and everything else. They were all in communication. And they're walking through the party. It's a normal Christmas party, and you see Jack there. He's wearing a sword, which is kind of a weird thing to be doing at a Christmas party. He just got out of prison,
right? He was definitely framed.
But they're like, hey, we're looking for her mom. Let us know when she shows up, because we're afraid she's in danger. And Clint and Kate are there, kind of walking through the party. And
by the way, you called that. You called Jack
being a patsy.
Being a patsy. You called it early.
Yeah, he's giving off that vibe of, and it was some of the misdirection that Marvel had given us by casting, the Jack Duquesne character, and oh my gosh, that's the swordsman. He's got to be doing something more than we know, and really it wasn't. It was just he was just a patsy.
My conspiracy theory, like Tingle, the titanium tingle. I got a titanium tingle out of it, and I'm not going there. I don't feel like he's a further character. I feel like he is what he is. They gave it to us. They answered that question. He's no longer this hidden secret trainer or other operative. He is who he is.
It's kind of like it gets
very talented swordsman.
Back to the WandaVision series when there was the secret engineer. If you remember, we had that whole conversation. Who's the engineer? And everybody's like,
"Is it Blue Marvel?
Blue Marvel? Is it all these?" It really wasn't. It was just an engineer. That's all it was. Right? An aerospace engineer. That's all it is. Is it Mr. Fantastic? No, it's just an aerospace engineer.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's walking through, but the mom's not there yet, and then they see Yelena. Yelena's there, and of course she's wearing this bright green dress, and she couldn't stand out more than she is.
It was a coat, it was a bright green coat.
Right? Bright green coat, and they're like, oh my God, Yelena's here. And then we get a really awesome scene between Yelena and Kate, they see each other, and you're like, oh, you're here, all this other stuff. And then all of a sudden, you see Kazi across the street with a sniper rifle aimed at the party, waiting for Eleanor to show up. But then he sees Clint there, and he's like, "Oh, I'm taking my shot."
Yeah, tell the boss Christmas came early.
Yeah.
They're all here, plus the girl. And he's going to try to take Clint out, which doesn't go so well.
Yeah, and he starts shooting into the party, which, of course, ends the party immediately. And the LARPers are now trying to get everybody out of the building.
Yeah, they're all disguised as waiters and waitresses, and then they're helping. They're their backup. It's kind of cool.
And Hawkeye's like, "Hey, I got to go take Kazi out." And so he leaves, and then Yelena goes to follow him, and Kate follows her, and they have this great interaction where they get on the elevator together.
It's my favorite part of the series, man. It's my favorite part of this show as well.
And they're talking to each other, and then she ends up doing the trick where you hit all the buttons on the elevator, and Yelena's like, "No, don't do it." And then it was like they're kind of wrestling with each other.
Yeah, they're fighting in the elevator a little bit, and Kate rips off her dress. And she's got her, Hawkeye outfit on, and Yelena goes, "Did you plan that?" She goes, "No." Well, yes.
Yeah.
It's so great. Their chemistry is so great.
And then they kind of, fight each other a little bit when they get off the elevator, fight each other a little bit, and the battle between them is really
great, comical
and hysterical.
What are we doing? Let's just go get drinks. She's like, "Yes, that's a great idea." After I kill Clint Barton.
Yeah, exactly. Clint's down on the lower floor. He, he's been chased by the tracksuit mafia, and he ends up, throwing a bunch of, detonation bombs, so he takes care of them. But he does end up, taking care of Kazi. He, shoots an arrow up into the window that he's at, and, kind of, gets him...
Smoked him out.
It smokes, basically, it was a smoke arrow, and it kind of got him out of that window. And then he is... Yelena is on an upper floor, and she jumps out of a window with her grappling hook and is coming down, and Kate yells out the window, "Clint, he's coming!" And
Yelena's coming, yeah.
And he looks up, and she's coming down. She's she misses him. She tries to shoot him and everything else. It was great. But they all
before she jumps out of the window, though, this is the cutest little line. She said, "Stop trying to make me stop making me like you."
Yeah.
And Yelena goes, "I can't help it." And then she jumps out the window. It's awesome.
Yeah. Again, the chemistry between them is great.
Off the charts.
But eventually this battle spills out onto Rockefeller Center.
Yeah.
And they're taking all of the people who were at the party. The LARPers are kind of getting them out. And then, of course, the tracksuit mafia shows up in force. They drive a bunch of the, Trust a Bro moving trucks. Yeah. And they're all jumping out, and Jack comes out with his sword, and he is just cutting people down left and right.
Yeah.
He's like the happiest guy ever. He gets to
it's my time.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
And the LARPers, like nobody's listening to him because they're in waiters uniforms, and they're like, "All right, guys, it's time."
Yeah.
And they run back inside and put all their LARPer uniforms on, and then all of a sudden everybody's listening to them when they're telling them where to go. But Kate and Hawkeye are now on the Hawkeye.
Jumps out
the building. Kate comes down on the same rope that Yelena came down on, which was actually pretty cool. Then Hawkeye tries to do the same thing, but the rope gets cut on the way down, and he lands in the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And there's a tiny little owl in the Christmas tree, too, which is really funny, which we see later. But Kate's like...
I thought it would be kind of cool if they used a hawk in the tree instead of an owl, but a hawk in New York City? An owl is more... owl made more sense,
Owl made more sense.
Would have been cool if it was a hawk, though.
But Kate ends up using an acid arrow and hits the base of the tree and,
takes down the tree.
Another great scene by her.
Huge.
She's like, "All right, on 3," and he's like, "What are you doing? What do you think you're doing?" She's like, "Do you want me to tell you when I'm going to do it or not?" "Okay, I'm just doing it." And so she just hits the tree with an acid arrow. The Rockefeller Center tree falls onto the ice, and Clint's in it, so he's now out of the tree. And then she's down on the ice, and now they're surrounded by the tracksuit mafia who's up around them. And this was when, like you said, the arrow battle of all trick arrows was just awesome. He shoots kind of like a magnetic arrow into...
And all the guns,
guns,
the flagpoles.
Yeah, and all the guns get sucked up into the magnetic,
It's really what the fans have been looking for.
Right.
This kind of trick arrow, them with their arrows battling the tracksuit mafia. This was what the series was leading up to, and it delivered.
Oh yeah, every one of those arrows was doing something crazy. You got to see them all, right?
Yeah.
And at one point in time, the tracksuit mafia drives a truck over the barrier of the ice rink, and I can't remember if it was Clint or
Kate.
Kate shoots it with the Pym arrow and shrinks the truck down into a little tiny toy truck. You hear the guys inside, what are you doing? Right? And then all of a sudden the owl comes over and picks it up in its claws and takes the truck away. And
Clint's like, and she goes, well, what happens now? He goes, I don't know. I guess I got to ask Scott.
Yeah, he's talking about
Scott Lang.
Yeah. That's
and the owl takes the truck away.
Oh, that was
crazy.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
But the big battle ensues, and then it kind of everything kind of splits off a little bit. They eventually are able to, they were.
Well, Kate finds out that her mom's coming out the side of the building, so she heads out to go find her mom. And at that point, Yelena shows up.
Yelena shows up, and now she's down on the ice fighting Clint, and they have kind of a big battle, a fight, and Clint doesn't want to hurt her. He knows who she is, and he's trying to tell her, look, and it ends up being exactly what we hoped it was.
Yeah.
Yelena realized that she was hired to kill him under false pretenses, and realizes that Clint tried to explain what happened to her sister. She sacrificed herself. He's like, I couldn't stop her. He said, I tried to stop. We fought for it, and she won. She's better than me, and she won. He said, but nobody was going to stop her. Your sister. And the way that he kind of got, Yelena was beating him, and he wouldn't fight back, and then he kind of got to her by using the special whistle that
their secret whistle.
The secret whistle that Natasha and Yelena had it with each other.
You heard it in Black Widow, the movie. They kind of revealed the whistle.
And Yelena kind of froze, and she's like, "How do you know about that?" And he goes, "She talked about you all the time. I mean, I know a lot about you." And he said, and that's kind of when Yelena was crying. Is just like. And she's like, I loved her so much, and he's like, so did I. And boom, they're done. Right?
Yeah, it was a great moment.
Yeah.
It was a really great moment. They bonded at that moment. It was fantastic. He knew a lot about her, and I think she was a little like at awe that he got to spend so much time with her.
Right.
And I think
she said that, right? Yeah. She's like, you got to spend so much time with her, and he's like, I did.
Yeah. I miss her.
Yeah. Yep. So that was the culmination of that. We got. Kate's mom now is trying to leave the party, gets in a car, and who shows up?
Kingpin, baby. He rips the door off. Shows his real power.
Rips the door off the
car.
Throws
her bodyguard over the car, rips the door off the car, and was like, get out. And that's when Kate shows up and shoots an arrow into his chest.
Oh, shoots Kingpin straight in the chest with an arrow, and he just grabs it and pulls it straight out like nothing happened.
Yeah, I wonder if he had body armor underneath there or something.
I think his body is the armor.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of
it just got caught in muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it was like not even a flesh wound.
Yeah, exactly. Just pulls it straight out, no big deal.
Really showed his power.
So they're fighting a little bit, and then Kate's mom drives the car into the Kingpin and basically throws him into the window of the toy store.
Yeah.
And then, Kate runs in there after him, and he's fine after being hit by a car.
Huge. That was a violent hit, and he just stands up like he's fine.
Yeah, and and then Kate's doing everything she can to hold him off.
She took him on.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
He grabs all the arrows out of her quiver and snaps them and said that enough of this. After she'd been shooting with all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
And he throws her around a few times, and eventually she uses the coin trick that she had practiced and perfected after like 5 times, and snaps a cufflink.
That she took from him.
Yeah, at one of the arrowheads, and it kind of sets them all off simultaneously and, kind of blows him across the room.
Yeah, blows him up.
Yeah.
But you see him laying there.
Yeah, incapacitates him. We'll say he didn't really do anything but just kind of knocked him out.
And she goes out and sees her mom okay, and she has a little moment with her mom, like, and her mom cuts into her, like, is this what heroes do? Do they...
Well, what did she do? What did she do?
Well, she kind of told her mom everything that she knows that she did.
Right. She's like, I know about everything. I know about Armand. I know about everything. And then the cops show up, finally. 45 minutes after this battle had started, the cops show up, finally. And they're not there to help with the tracksuit mafia who's trying to kill everybody. They're not there to help with the party that's been shot at. They're there to arrest... Eleanor.
Eleanor, yeah.
And you're under arrest for the murder of Armand Duquesne, and she's like, oh, that's when she asked the question, is this what heroes do? And she's like, yeah, it's exactly what heroes do. Right?
Absolutely. I think she did. But touching moment, she's like, I love you, Mom, and, it was...
As she's being dragged away to...
As she's being put in prison.
Right?
She did... And Clint kind of told her that, it takes sacrifice. You got to do tough... You're going to have to make tough decisions. And that's she did to do the right thing,
right?
And I think Kate's ready for it. I mean, it's impressive.
And we got two more important kind of scenes. We got Kazi shows up down and Echo ends up showing up. She drives in on her motorcycle, and Kazi's there, and they have a big confrontation. And Kazi's, basically alluding to the relationship that the two of them have, making it seem like there's some love there. And Echo's she's pissed. Yeah. She's just like, I don't care who you are or what you've done. You took everything from me. You took my father from me. And she ends up killing Kazi. So, boom, she just takes him out. Yeah. And that was a big scene, too. The two of them kind of...
the banter between them. I think he felt more for her than... And he was begging her, just leave. Just get out of here. Just run. And I don't think she's into that. I think she has a vendetta that she's going to finish.
Oh, yeah. And we kind of... As we alluded to last week, you kind of had to have some kind of redemption arc for her, and she realizes the life of crime that she had been leading and the organization that she'd been working for was, and it was all made up to kind of keep her angry and hateful of the people that had taken her father from her, wherein the people that took her father from her were actually the people she'd been working for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And that kind of led to the final scene of that battle was...
Talk about answering some questions. Yeah. That was a big one.
Yeah, and Echo confronts Kingpin. She ends up finding him in the alley afterwards.
Yeah, the cops are in the toy store looking for him, and he's gone.
Right.
Yeah, and then she confronts him in the alley. Yeah, I got some questions about this.
Well, she ends up, he's telling her, hey, look, we're family. We're family. We don't always do the right thing, but we do what's right for our family. And she's like, and he's pointing a gun at her and thinking, you're not going to do this. He says, I know
she's pointing a gun at him, right?
She's pointing a gun at him, and he's like, we don't always see eye to eye. And then all of a sudden...
The camera pans up, and you hear the gun flash.
The gunshot, and then you hear a thud. So the assumption is that she shot him in the face. But that's kind of where that part of the episode ended.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was probably the only question that didn't get answered in the whole series for me. And left it kind of wide open. So that's interesting.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. The last kind of scene of the show was Hawkeye pulling up in front of his farm in Missouri, opened up his trunk. He's got some presents in there, and the kids run out and say hi to their father.
He made it home for Christmas.
Yep, and Kate's with him, and Lucky the pizza dog's with him as well.
Yeah.
And so, he had brought Kate to have Christmas with his family. And the one kind of big other revelation we got was Hawkeye hands the Rolex watch back to his wife Laura and says, you need to take better care of your stuff. And she turns the watch over, and on the back it shows the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo with a number 19 underneath it, and Agent 19 in S.H.I.E.L.D. was Mockingbird.
Yeah.
So that kind of confirmed that she was the Mockingbird S.H.I.E.L.D. agent character, and they end up getting married and everything, having a family.
I'm not again. Titanium was tingling on this scene. I wanted more answers to that, but it is surface. It answered the question. She was part of S.H.I.E.L.D. She was number 19, Mockingbird. I thought it was great. Kind of answered why she was speaking German and how she had access to these resources to get all this information. I thought it was great. Yeah.
So, and again, just like we were hopeful of, after last episode, we wanted to get all these plot points tied off on, and I think we did. I mean, all of them. Now, the one lingering question you had was about Kingpin, right?
Yeah, like I know in the comics there's certain things that happen to Kingpin, but
your question to me earlier this week was, why would they kill off this major character that they had, worked so hard to bring back and bring into the MCU? Why would they kill him off right away? That was your first question earlier this week.
That would be, it doesn't make sense. I don't think they had so much hype for this character and so much fan favor behind this character.
And why bring Vincent D'Onofrio
back? Why bring him back just to kill him off at the end
after
one in maybe 1.5 series,
and he's not dead. So that's the answer to that. And I was like, do you want me to tell you now, or you want to wait for the
episode? Wait for the show.
Yeah. So the answer is he's not dead. I think they have big plans for not only the Kingpin character but Vincent D'Onofrio going forward. We know the Echo series is coming to Disney Plus at some point in time in the future, and we understand that they may be planning a Daredevil series as well. And you just don't get rid of a character like the Kingpin, who's so involved in crime in New York City that those characters would revolve around.
Right.
This is especially
exactly with the Echo series around the corner.
Right. This is exactly how the confrontation between Echo and the Kingpin resolved in the comic books. We mentioned when we were talked about her history. The difference is the exposure was done by Daredevil. So Daredevil and Maya Lopez Echo had a relationship, and the Kingpin had convinced Echo that Daredevil was the one that killed her father.
Yes.
And so in this series, he had convinced Echo that the Ronin character was the one that killed her father. And when that secret was exposed in the comic books, she confronted the Kingpin very similar to what she did here with a gun and shot him. And it blinded him. It temporarily... We saw a scene in the comic books of him in the hospital with 2 patches over his eyes. And he was temporarily blinded while he tried to rebuild his criminal empire. He was blind. He ended up having reconstructive eye surgery later on and ended up getting his sight back. So I'm assuming that's where they're going with this, that we'll at some point in time see him in a hospital bed with patches on his eyes or something. And there were some rumors that the post-credit scene that we got, which was the Rogers musical performance,
awful. Absolutely awful.
We understand that they had filmed a couple of other post-credit scenes that they left out in favor of that. One of them would have been him being in a hospital bed with eye patches over both of his eyes, having been blinded by Echo's gunshot. And Hawkeye had sent him the Ronin sword in a Christmas package, and somebody opened it up and they told him what it was, and there was a message in there that said, "Stay away from Kate Bishop, stay away from my family, or you know what's going to happen." And that scene was cut, so we never got that, but it would have given a little bit more confirmation that the Kingpin character was not dead.
I would have loved to have seen that after credit scene. That would have been huge.
Yeah. And the other one would have been a scene of the owl that had brought the truck with the Tracksuit Mafia guys back to its nest, and there were a bunch of baby owls there, and the owl drops in and drops the truck into the nest, and then they would cut away from that, so you would have known the fate of those individuals as well. So
that would have been funny too.
Yeah, but we didn't get those. We got Rogers.
Or even if the owl was flying away and all of a sudden the truck became normal size again and dropped like 100 feet into the Hudson or something. Yeah. That would have been funny too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got the
Save
musical.
the City.
Save the City by the Rogers musical.
I could do this all day.
Oh, so bad. It was so bad.
But I think, all in all, the series was good. My whole hope of all of these Disney Plus series is keep our interest, keep us engaged, make sure the audience doesn't forget who these characters are, and help bridge the time between movies that are important in the MCU, and it's done that. I mean, it gave us something to watch. It gave us something compelling and interesting. And again, the acting was great in this series. The writing was great.
It was a great series to move the narrative forward for Phase 4.
And had it not been for the Hawkeye series, we would have never known what would have happened to Yelena after the Black Widow movie, let alone where she might show up later. Now we kind of have an idea. Oh, well, they've kind of made amends, Hawkeye and Yelena, but we don't know, is she still going to be a contract killer? Is she, she's still going to be working for Val? Yeah, that's all up in the air now. At least we have some answers to that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And although the Hawkeye series didn't launch as well as Loki or WandaVision, I think the numbers that I saw, it was a little off of those launches. Obviously, WandaVision was a huge launch because it was the first real content that we had.
And there was nothing else out.
Nothing else out.
Right.
And this series kind of suffered because there was so much hype about Spider-Man. As far as numbers are concerned, I think still it's one of my top favorite series. I think it did get kind of bad luck with the end of Spider-Man coming out, and then it had its season finale after that. Very tough for them, but this is something that I'll probably watch the whole thing, binge it again, just because of the character building and what it does for Phase 4.
Well, and it paints, a picture of what could be. We've always alluded to the fact that the Young Avengers should be and could be coming at some point in time, and Kate Bishop being one of the first people that could be in that, or was in that team, and now we've seen this person in the MCU. And at the end of the show, we got another powerful scene between Hawkeye and Kate where he burned the Ronin costume, and she helped him do that to kind of put that to bed,
right.
So that character is done. But then she's talking about code names, and she's like,
Lady Hawk.
He's like, no, it's terrible. And so she keeps throwing these like names out that she thinks might be good for her. And he says, at the end of it, he says, I have an idea. And you kind of get the idea that he's just going to let her take the Hawkeye mantle on, and she's now just going to be Hawkeye.
I mean, that's where the series ends, and then the logo dun, dun, pops up on the screen. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
So, and again, I think, having Haley Steinfeld in the MCU is just huge. I mean, she really killed the character, and I think having her kind of be a mainstay for a future Young Avengers team. And you know what? I would not be surprised if they tag Jeremy Renner and Hawkeye to lead that team or to put that team together and help mentor that team. I mean, he seems like the perfect person to do that.
I think his body can't take being
a hero, direct hero
anymore. Right. I think he's got to be the guy in the chair from now on, moving.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that would be a great role for him, and he's had that history before. He obviously led the West Coast Avengers for many years. That was kind of his team. But then he ended up becoming the leader of the Thunderbolts at one point in time as well. When they brought somebody in to take over the Thunderbolts after Baron Zemo had been exposed as the leader of that team. But, he's got a history for that. So, I mean, I thought this was great. I loved it and can't wait for the next one. And I guess theoretically the next one is Moon Knight, right? So we don't have an official date. We don't know when this is dropping, but we believe Moon Knight's the next one to come. Yeah,
we don't know about She-Hulk. We know Miss Marvel will be in the summer at some point in mid. So we don't know about those series yet. It's exciting, but what do we got next? Anything? What do we got next coming up?
Nothing from Disney until May, or at least nothing announced from Disney until May. I'm under the impression that Moon Knight will probably drop sometime January, February timeframe. But the next Marvel movie from Marvel is not coming until May, which is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So they've got to fill that time with some kind of content. I believe we'll get both the Moon Knight and She-Hulk series between now and then. We just don't have the official date yet.
Who knows?
But we've got a lot to look forward to in the next, month and a half.
Peacemaker, baby.
Peacemaker launches in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We've got the Morbius movie at the end of January.
I hope it's as good as I want it to be because it just looks cool as shit.
Yep.
And Spider-Man, they had a big trailer for it, and it lit me up.
Yeah, that movie's going to do very well. And then we've got the Batman movie coming out in March. So that's kind of what we're looking forward to over the next several weeks, and hopefully more announcements are coming down. We'll kind of, I would assume now that Hawkeye has finished, that Marvel and Disney will come out with some type of announcement of what's next and when it's coming.
We got The Boys next year too, sometime.
Hopefully, we know it's been done. Yeah. So when are they going to drop that one?
Post-production, CGI stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's going to be great. We're going to cover that. We're going to cover the shit out of that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, well, let's move on to our news section. And we've got a few items to cover here. So the one thing that I did hear this week is that Vincent D'Onofrio was interviewed about his role in the Hawkeye series. And he was asked the question, is this the same Kingpin we saw in the Daredevil Netflix series? He goes, yeah, I was told by Marvel this is the same character. And during the snap, the 5-year snap, he had basically lost his criminal empire, and he's now rebuilding it. So he's alluding to the fact that he had been snapped away, and while he was away for 5 years, his criminal empire kind of had waned. His power had waned, but now he's back, and he's reclaiming that power and rebuilding his criminal empire. And that basically confirmed that not only is the Kingpin character that was in the Netflix series the same character, that tells us that the Daredevil character that we saw in Spider-Man No Way Home is the same character as well. So effectively making those characters canon. That's awesome. Yeah. We don't need to go back in history and rewrite it and saying, hey, these are the same actors playing the same characters, but they're different than what you saw. No, they're just basically saying this is the same people that went through the same things in those series, which is awesome. It's finally Disney somewhat officially coming out and saying those Netflix series are canon. They're part of the MCU history, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, again, Titanium Tingle is all over the place on this. Like, if he was snapped away, how did he give the order to have the top lead of the Tracksuit Mafia murdered by Ronin, who was on that rampage? And I got a lot of questions about that, but I'm just going to take it for face value. The man said it's canon. I love it. I'm more excited that it's canon than not. And you're right.
And again, we don't have confirmation that he was blipped away, but we do know that his criminal empire suffered during that period of time. So maybe he wasn't blipped away, but a lot of people that worked for him were, or a lot of the generals or lieutenants, whoever that worked under him were. So maybe that's why he had to rebuild after the snap as well. So we don't know any of those details, but he was basically
Great answer. I'm going to put that to bed.
Yeah.
My tingle is off because of that. I didn't think of that. That's awesome.
Yeah. We have now started to see, speaking of Spider-Man, we'll talk about a couple things about the that movie's momentum is continuing to just
skyrocket.
Oh my God. I mean, we knew when it came out it was going to be big, and it was. Huge opening weekend, huge opening week.
Yep.
They did another, 20 million just on Christmas Eve this past Friday, which was Christmas Eve. They did another 20 million. they've now eclipsed 405 million in the domestic box office in a short, week, which makes it the biggest Sony movie of all time.
Yeah.
So Sony, the biggest movie Sony had ever done before was Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, the second Jumanji movie. That did 404 million domestically. This has already gone past that. We're only a week in. They're expecting to have a weekend. They're going to finish the Christmas weekend with 475 million domestically, which is amazing, and probably going to go over that $1 billion mark worldwide, which is no surprise.
Yeah,
but
it's not probably. I agree with you, Professor. It absolutely will. It's going to, if it hasn't already. I think they're putting the numbers together now. I think we're going to hear very shortly, and a lot of rags out there have already stated that it's gone over. It's hit the $1 billion mark globally.
Yeah, they're just going to make that official announcement probably on Monday when the weekend box office finishes up. But look, we had Christmas Day yesterday. We have the day after Christmas today. I mean, these people are going to movies now because there's nothing else to do, and it's a holiday. And they're all going to see this movie. That's for sure. And one of the things I noticed is now that the cat is out of the bag, that kind of a week after the opening, they kind of wanted to stay quiet for a while, but now everybody's talking about what's in it, right? Because there's no more quote unquote secrets.
Yeah, spoilers are all over the place. Yeah.
So everybody knows what happens. Well, now
and they still want to go see it.
Yes. But now the cat's out of the bag. That both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in the movie. We're now starting to see Spider-Men merchandise start hitting store shelves. So there's a bunch of T-shirts now being released by Sony with the three of them in their separate costumes on T-shirts and stuff. And it's like, yeah, they're totally raking in the money on the Spider-Men concept, right?
Printing cash at Sony right now.
And the movie has also set a bunch of records on the Rotten Tomatoes side. It is a 95% fresh from the critics, which is hardly if ever heard of before, but it's 99% fresh on the viewers rating, which has set a record. They said it's the highest rated viewer rating on Rotten Tomatoes ever, with at least 20,000 reviews. So look, this movie, again, the thing that you and I spoke about last week, not only is it killing it from a box office perspective, but it deserves all the hype and all the positive praise that it's getting because it's that good.
Yeah, it is that good. It's as good as you thought it was going to be. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No disappointment.
Yeah. And then speaking of, there's now some momentum behind giving Andrew Garfield that third movie in his Amazing Spider-Man franchise. So him being in this movie, and everybody not only loved seeing him back, but kind of was like, wow, this guy's a really good Spider-Man. We'd love to see him finish that trilogy off. And now there's talk about potentially giving him that film and giving him another film in the Amazing Spider-Man trilogy, which would be obviously an alternate universe or a separate universe from the MCU, which our Tom Holland is in. But why not? I mean, more money for Sony.
Sure.
People would buy tickets to go see that. Of course they would.
Yeah, especially if they threw a Venom or another character in there.
It'd be awesome.
I mean, again, Sony is hell-bent on making a Spider-Verse, and they've already said that they are going to make Spider-Man movies and Spider-Verse movies. So why not? I mean, look, after the success of this, $1 billion, everything is on the table.
Everything's on the table.
Everything's on the table.
Yeah. And, Amy Pascal's already got a company that's going to be built to kind of take over all of that, right?
You know how I feel about that woman.
I love her
crazy.
hair.
No, her hair is awful. She looks like crazy Hocus Pocus character.
All right, well, let's jump into our topic of the week, and I've got something special planned for this week.
But you sure did. You kind of came out of nowhere on me.
This is brought to us by our friends over at Studio GG Studios.
Studio GG Studios, home of the Man Band. Still waiting for Buffalo Tim. I think it's coming.
So, got a great stocking stuffer yesterday.
Look at that.
Is awesome. And it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe quiz. And so we'll play a little game here, Titanium.
Okay.
We're each going to get 5 cards.
Random cards. You haven't looked at them, have you?
No.
Okay. These are my 5 cards.
Those are your 5 cards.
Cool case. So the game comes in this really cool case.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of Marvel cards with a bunch of pictures and some trivia questions on them.
And each one of the cards, don't look at the answer side. Okay. Just look at the question side.
What's the answer side and what's the question side?
So where it says the name of the movie, that's the question side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the answers are on the side that says answer. So we're going to take turns asking each other the questions on this card.
Okay.
And look, these are all MCU movies. So we better be good at this.
Yeah.
We better be good at this.
Oh.
I mean, this is not like Marvel Comics history. This is MCU, right?
Okay.
So each card represents a different movie, and we'll take turns. I'm going to ask you the questions on the card. If you get all 5 questions right, you get the card. If you miss a question, the other person can then answer the next question correctly and steal that card.
Okay.
Okay? And then at the end, we'll see who has the most cards, and we'll see who wins the game.
Well, this is like...
And at the end of the day, if we both have 5 cards, we'll just call it a tie and just say we're Super Talk. That's why we got
This
it
is
right.
like swimming with a guy that can't hold his breath, okay? So...
Oh my God, you know these answers probably more than I do. What are you talking
Professor. Your name is the Professor.
Right.
I'm the muscle. You are the brains. You absolutely are going to beat me in this.
Okay, so I'll go first. I'll ask you the questions on this card first. And this is from Captain America, the First Avenger.
Okay.
What is Johann Schmidt also known as?
What is Johann Schmidt also known as? Johann Schmidt also known as Zoloff.
No.
Zola.
No.
Johann Schmidt. Oh God, okay, I know. The Red Skull.
Okay. Oh, I'll let you kind of walk before you run into this one. Okay, I'll give that one to you. All right. In which country does Schmidt first claim the Tesseract?
Norway?
Yes.
That was pulled out of my ass.
Okay. What organization is Schmidt the head of?
Hydra.
Yes.
Okay.
Which doctor assists Schmidt with his work on the Tesseract?
Zola.
Yes.
Yeah.
Arnim Zola, yes.
No.
Which American city is Schmidt targeting before he is defeated by Captain America?
New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
All right. That's 5 questions. You get the card, Titanium. Very,
Okay.
very good. Way to noodle it out, buddy.
Jesus. My head hurts right now. This is the Avengers.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Which realm is home to Loki and Thor?
Asgard.
Asgard. Very good. That is correct. What is
Did
the
you have
name?
to check?
I did. Well, it's a trick question because isn't Loki from Lofgard or what? I mean, well, I don't want to say. Don't answer it because that might be a question.
Okay.
What is the name of Loki's army?
The Chitauri.
That is correct. What object is Loki trying to obtain from Earth?
The Tesseract.
That is correct. Look, come on, these are so easy for you. Which Marvel does Loki hope to exploit to escape from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarrier?
Which
Okay, so which Avenger? Which
Okay.
Avenger does Loki hope to exploit to escape from the helicarrier, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s helicarrier?
The Hulk.
That is correct. Damn, you're good at this.
Oh, come on.
What does Loki trap in the helicarrier detainment chamber using an illusion of himself?
Thor.
That is correct. That was easy.
Card for me.
That is card for you.
All right, here we go. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I like that movie.
Okay, we could...
I'm getting butchered on this
All
one.
right. What is Ghost's real name?
Oh, what is Ghost's real name? What is Ghost's real name? I can't pull it.
Ava Starr.
Ava. Yeah.
Ava. All right, so I guess I have a ability to steal here. Which former member of S.H.I.E.L.D.